Well, hello again, everyone. This is Ted Schmidt, Action Coach Northwest, and we're here again with another one of our editions of our Business Spotlight podcast. And today our guest is Carlos Martinez, co-founder and CEO of Dura-Shine Clean. So welcome, Carlos, and thanks for being our guest today.
Hey, well, thanks, Ted, for having me. I'm excited to be here and share a little bit of what we do and what we've learned along the way of this cleaning company that we own here in Tri.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Awesome. Well, looking forward to hearing your answers today and providing some great insights for other business owners. So, okay, question number one. If you had to start from square one in business, what would you do differently?
I think we over time you learn a lot, right? And so obviously you go back and, hey, I would have done this and this, but the other part of that is everybody's got their own story and their own journey. So that's part of the journey, the highs and the lows and the failures that you had along the way. But honestly, I gave this some thought, this question. Probably the one thing I would do differently, I would have aligned myself with a better networking and better having mentors. Being a good networker and building relationships and building business is so huge. And I didn't know any of this. I don't have any post high school education. Yeah. And so it took me a while to figure that out. And that's when we really started to grow. When I learned the importance of networking, going out in the community, shaking hands, meeting people, getting involved with the community, and start building relationships.
Yeah.
And, a good thing that social media came along and we started building relationships that way as well. So that has helped out a lot. But yeah, at probably the first 10 years, very little networking. And so the growth wasn't there, like we would have wanted it to be there. And so it was until I joined a professional association of cleaning called Building Service Contractors International. And people started talking about networking and building relationships. And that whole concept to me, so I started this business in Othello, very small community. And so, never heard of that. So I started learning. And so it was huge. Started building relationships, started, being involved in the community. And that's when our business started to grow So it's very important and very valuable to be a good networker and have, build your network, right? And LinkedIn, we know that. I think that's how we connected. That's another way of networking nowadays, but that wasn't around back then. And then the other thing is having mentors. When I joined this association, there's people that offered to mentor me, people that had been in the business. At that point, when I joined that association, we've been in business about 10 years. And so they've been in business 20, 25 years, 30 years. And we were under $1 million at that point. And, here I am talking to companies that are doing $20 million, $40 million. So they've, gone through the ups and downs, and have learned so much. And so when you start using that resource, these people say, hey, if you ever need, here's my card. Do you ever have any question, have any, want to discuss something, you have a problem with something, call me. And so anyways, and so when I started getting some mentors, and been in business 30 years, even to this day, some of them are still great mentors of mine because they've been in business another 10, 20 years more than I have. And so you learn so much and you save yourself a lot of growing pains, some, heartaches, because they get you through those things that you don't have to do all that by yourself. So probably those two things. I probably would have been, if I would have been a better networker and done more networking and just having mentors at that point, we would have probably had a lot more success early on.
Early on, yeah. So now, do you belong to like local organizations, like trade organizations or the chambers or things like that?
Yeah, so we belong to all the chambers here in the Tri-Cities and a few out of the area that we serve. I'm involved in some boards, TriDec. I've been on the Workforce Development Council, so Home Builders Associations. Building Council here in Tri-Cities. So yeah, we try to really now. We've learned some things along the way, and so now we are very involved in the community.
Yeah, that makes a huge difference. Awesome.
It does.
Great advice. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Next question. What have your biggest learnings been as an employer, since you began in business?
Well, as an employer, it's a lot of fun to be an employer, but it's a big responsibility. We've had employees up to over right before COVID, we were about 100. Right now we're about 75, 80. In the summertime, we'll have about 140 employees. So it's a big responsibility to have employees and to be an employer. So you always want to make sure that you have built yourself a good company, and you, whether it's providing the service or being the employer, you want to make sure everybody has a good experience with you, because that goes out in the community, right? People say, man, and so we try to build a good culture. We try to paint the big picture to everybody, have them, believe in what we believe and what drives our passion, so they become passionate. Um, and that usually um, helps us get better employees, and they want to be part of the team. They're excited to be part of the team. But yeah, and being an employer is never easy, because and things change. I remember 30 years ago when we started hiring employees.
Mhm.
Um, people were We had employees we still have one. We have one that's been with us 20. Let's see, he's been with us since 2004. So what, 21 years.
21
But
years. Wow.
but we had employees at the beginning for 10, 15, 20 years. You know, uh, and again, you showed them respect. You gave them a good, decent wage, and we felt our philosophy felt, well, hey, if we treat them right, if we become an employer of choice, because there's in the cleaning industry, there's a lot of competition. You're not the only game in town, so they can come work. But we want to make their experience a pleasant one, one that was better than our competitors. So, but so you have to change, because the workforce is not like that anymore. People don't want to last 24.
Yeah, really.
You know, uh, well, we pay more wages for wages now, and people don't want to work as hard and don't want to stick around as long. So you have to learn how to be flexible, adaptable as the workforce changes as well. Um, but at the end of the day, it's a big responsibility to be an employer. Especially, we have a lot of employees that have big families that depend on us. So, during COVID, that was tough, because all we could think about it was them and their families, and how they depend on their paychecks. And some of them, we have husband and wife, teams that work for us, and so they have 4 or 5 kids, and so it's a big
Oh yeah.
responsibility.
Oh
And
yeah.
at the same time, it's also fun when as a matter of fact, this morning I had a lady call me and says, "Hey, I don't know if you remember me. I used to work for you. I worked for you for 4 years back in 2008 to 2012." And I was saying, the name sounds familiar. She goes, "Hey, I took some time off to be home with some kids. I started cleaning houses on my own, but I'd like to come back to work for you." So, I mean, that
Wow.
she must have had a great experience to come back.
Yeah,
So,
that's a long time.
yeah. So
Yeah.
so anyways, it's fun, but it's also a big responsibility.
Yeah, it is. No doubt. Yeah. I love what you said about the way you treat your employees, and they feel projects out into the community. And that is so true. That is so true. So awesome. Okay. What are some common misconceptions about running a business, and how do you address them?
Probably, and I'm sure you've heard this probably, but probably that business is easy.
Yeah.
But as you know, business is not for the faint of heart. You know, it's fun, and people always ask me this question. Yeah, I want to go into business. What kind of business do I go into? And I said, listen, you gotta find something you're passionate about, something you love, because work is being a business owner. It's work, and if you don't have that passion, the first time you hit a no or a hurdle, you'll quit. So you got to be passionate about what you do, and so it's because it's not easy. There's highs and there's lows, and sometimes they come right after each other. You're on a high and then you're on a low, real. So it's a lot of hard work. People
Yeah.
always we've been in business 30 years. They see you on vacation. Oh, it must be nice. Well, yeah, 30 years. I've done a lot in 30 years. That wasn't the case 30 years ago.
Right.
Even when I'm on vacation as a business owner, even though we have a team now, we delegate a lot of stuff. As a team, as an owner, you're never really on vacation. You always gotta be,
Yeah.
and with communication nowadays, emails and cell phones, you're available. So just probably the biggest misconception is people think it's easy, and business is not easy. It's a lot of work, and even after you're established, it's still work. COVID was an example of that. We had to
Oh,
think
yeah.
our feet, have a pivot, had to figure out how we're gonna survive that, and now a little slower economy. We gotta navigate something, and some of those things are not easy to deal with. It can be very stressful, but at the end of the day, if you're doing something you're passionate about, something you love to do, you can navigate through all that stuff.
Yeah. The way I've always looked at it is being a business owner, and I've been a business owner for over 30 years as well. And being a business owner is a lifestyle.
That's
It's
true.
not a job. It's a lifestyle.
Mhm.
So you better figure out how to like that lifestyle, or you're gonna be miserable. And that's kind of what it is. So
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. Oh,
yeah,
totally right.
yeah. Okay. What do you do? Excuse me, what do you attribute your growth to?
Oh man, so many factors into attributing our growth. I always tell people, this is a word I love because people tell me this, and I feel too. Um, I'm really passionate about what we do. I'm really passionate about our company and our team and what we do. So I've gone into business meetings and trying to negotiate deals, and I've had people say, "Hey, you're not," and in this industry, the other thing is people kind of always want to go with the lowest bid, the lowest price. And I've been in boardrooms with CFOs and other, office managers, and they say, "Man, we love the passion that you have." So when you're passionate, it shows through. People, oh man, this guy believes in his company. This guy believes in what they're doing, believes in his team. And so we try to, one, all be passionate about what we do. We try to, instill that all the way down. So that's one thing. Having a good reputation. Obviously, I'm in the service industry. So it's very word of mouth, very by referrals. If you do a good job, and especially a day and age where everything is posted, every great
Mhm.
experience is posted or shared, or every negative experience is
Yeah, oh, yeah.
posted and shared. So having a good reputation, having going out there, having the customer. I always tell our team, when we go out there and we provide a service, we want to. I tell them, want to leave, and we want them to say, "Man, that was the best experience I've had." Had somebody come and clean my carpets. Wow, that was a good experience. I feel positive about themselves. So having a good reputation, having people have a good experience, having your reputation running around the community is been one of the biggest ways we've grown our company. And obviously, you gotta have good marketing. Social media is a big part of that nowadays, and also just having a great core team, good leadership. Our supervisors, our managers, having them believe in the passion that I have, and having them pass that down to everybody else. And then the other thing is just, again, and being in the community, being visible is a big part too. I remember, man, this is probably about 10, 12 years ago. I was trying to land this big account, and I went upstairs to GM's office, and he was looking over. There's three of us that went into the office there to present our sales proposal, and he says, "Man, this is probably one of the best proposals I've seen. It's on the higher end." Um, and he says, "I'll keep it in mind," and he's thanked us for our time. Right after that, he we connected on Facebook. I think at the time was what it was. And then he started seeing that we were involved in the community, that we were giving back. And so about 3 months later, I was there downstairs getting an oil change. It's a car dealership. and he was walking through. I said, "Hey, how you doing?" And he said, "Hey, oh, make an appointment with my secretary. I want to speak to you." So, anyways, he said 3 months ago when you came in through, I had no idea who you were, other than you gave us a good sales presentation. But now I know that you guys are involved in the community. You give back to the community, so I want to do business with you. And so
Ah,
it's been a good recipe for us.
ah, I love it.
Yeah,
Excellent. That's a great one. That's awesome. Okay.
yeah.
All right. How do you balance your personal life with the demands of running a business?
Oh man, this is always the challenge for every business owner, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Obviously, you never get away from it, and I think over in the last 30 years, I've learned that you gotta carve the time out. You gotta make the time out. You gotta take time outs, or you burn yourself out. And so you gotta learn how to balance it. Never an easy thing to do. It's very challenging, very demanding. Obviously, when the buck stops with you, and
Oh, yeah.
decisions, uh, come to you. So, but probably, I have two kids, and my first child, man, I regret the time I didn't spend with her because I was, so
Um,
involved with our company. And the second child, he's got the better version of me because he's got more time with me. But, you know, uh, time with family is so important. I've learned that as time goes by. So now we carve time out. We try to disconnect. Obviously, over time we've grown, so you gotta. One way is too is you gotta learn how to delegate and let go and let others, unless it's a very important thing, but have empower them to make the decisions, and just trust them, to make those decisions. Something huge, obviously, has got to come up the ladder, but you just got to carve out. And we started, probably about, we've been 30 years. Probably the first 10 years, like I said, it was kind of interesting, but in the next 5 years, there's a lot of growth. So probably about year 16 or something, we started carving time out. Um, every quarter, we do a weekend getaway. We go up to Spokane, we go up to Coeur d'Alene. Coeur d'Alene is one of our favorite places to go and just decompress a little bit, and just being there is just really relaxing. And so yeah, now I remember going on vacation. It was so hard to go on vacation in the early years, 'cause,
oh, yeah.
and so we were just in Maui for almost 2 weeks here last month, and you know everything was fine.
It was still there when you got back.
Yeah, and there was a few calls, but not very many anymore. So
Yeah.
that's it. That's very nice. But obviously, different stages, different phases of our business now. But it's I think everybody's probably it's a challenge for everybody. But you gotta find the time and carve it out, and you gotta make time for your family, or you lose your family, and then who wants that too? So
Yeah,
or
exactly.
your health, you lose your health too. So you gotta make time for you.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you said that because that's important. And I love the part, delegate and let go. Empower your people to make decisions. So important. So important. So a lot of
Yeah.
business owners struggle with that one.
Yes.
It's a tough one.
It's a
So
tough one. Yeah. It's
yeah.
a
All right. What qualities do you look for in employees, and how do you foster a positive and productive work environment? You kind of talked about that a little bit already, but
Yeah, we try to find people that are passionate about cleaning. It's not a glamorous thing, and you don't find too many people that are passionate. But there's some people, and we were. Some of the questions: do you like to clean? Are you a good cleaner? But other than that, other than having passion, I mean, and you're not gonna find too many. But you know, hiring people with good character, people that you think that, hey, you might be evolving to something, something else. Just we'll start you out as a cleaner, but then hey, in other roles, leadership roles, trainers, and that kind of stuff. Um, but obviously, we are in the cleaning industry, commercial cleaning. So most of our work gets done at night when people go home. And so we look for people that are honest and have some integrity. And we go usually about at least 2 rounds of interviews, maybe sometimes 3. Um, but you gotta be feel good, and got to be able to trust them, you know. And so, and then the other part of your question is, how do we foster a good working environment?
yeah, positive and productive work environment.
Yeah. So one of the things we tell them, hey, listen, you're gonna come on. This is a lot of work. not easy. It's throwing trash, cleaning toilets, never glamorous work, but it can be fun. And we want you to have fun. We want you to come work and enjoy your time here with us. And we'll stop in sometimes when they're working. Obviously, we know where everybody's at because we can track where everybody's cleaning and stuff. And so we'll stop by every now and then, and bring them in, bring them coffees or donuts or cookies or just as we make inspections and stuff. And then we tell them how much we appreciate the work that they're doing. The other day, I had to work 2 weekends ago. We had to work at they're building a $600 million Dairy Eagle plant here in Pasco. I don't know if you heard that.
Okay.
So, and it is a circus in there with 200 subs working in there. And so they need an area cleaned out over the weekend. It's like, oh man, it was supposed to be done like Thursday and Friday, and say, we can't, they're not going to be that ready for us. So I had to, call some people, and we had to call some people and said, hey, would you want to work with us? And one of my supervisors said, say, I cannot work on Sunday. I can work Saturday. So can you help me out on Sunday? I said, yeah, I'll help you out, And I hadn't done that in a very long time, and I was glad to do it. But, so he was really like appreciative. Then on top of that, the employees that I got to work with, I knew who they were because I've seen them at some of our meetings, and I see them coming in and out here of the office. But I've never worked with them at a job site.
Right.
And I had a couple of moms, a couple of mothers, and we were just chatting, in between, some things. And I said, it was almost towards the end of the day. It was like a 9-hour day that day. I said, you guys still got to go home and cook dinner? She goes, yeah, they said, yeah. And I said, one of them had 4 kids, the other one has 5 kids. And I said, listen, if I had gift cards for you guys, I would buy you dinner today. But I'll tell you what, this week I'm going to get you guys some gift cards where you guys want to go. And so I came in, bought them, we got them gift cards that came in during the week. And they went to dinner this last Sunday,
Oh, yeah.
So, you tell people, you appreciate them, but not just by word, but also by action, show them, hey, I know it wasn't easy for you to be out there Saturday and Sunday away from your family, and then you still had to go home and cook dinner. I like to hear, here's a $150 gift card, family of 5, at least help you, pay, 90% of that meal or something,
Right.
But, so we want them to come to work hard for us and know that they're appreciated. I think that has a big influence in why people want to be here and work with us. And one of those janitors had been with us 10 years, another one 15 years. And so they've been here for a while. So we appreciate them, and we appreciate, and that's how we try to build a good culture for them. So, hey, I told them that morning, we're going to run today. We're going to run, but we're going to have fun.
Yeah.
So
That's great. That's great. The number one reason employees leave is they don't feel appreciated.
That's right.
That's the number one reason. And you think about that, and that's just so perfect what you did there. That was awesome. Okay. Wow, we're sailing along. Only 2 questions left.
Wow,
so
that's gone by quick.
Yeah, here we go. What question should I be asking you that I haven't?
You want personal or business wise? What do you think?
Whatever you like.
I want to ask me how I got started in the cleaning industry.
How did you get started in the cleaning industry?
I always like to share our story. So listen, I was working in the state government, the state of Washington.
Yeah.
And this is in the early 90s. And I was a young man. And then I just got married, and there was a rift. There's a budget rift, reduction in force. And my manager in my office says, hey, listen, we got to lay off some people. You're a superstar, you're a rock star, but state, it works by seniority. And there's people, that have been here 20, 30 years. They're just putting their time in,
Yeah.
He goes, we're gonna have to lay you off. And hopefully it's a temporary layoff. I'm working on some other stuff that maybe you come back sooner. And so I got laid off, and so I had a friend in the community that I had heard that they're always looking for janitors for a national company. So I called them up and said, hey, listen, I told my wife, hey, I got laid off. So I said, hey, I'm thinking about calling this guy. He's always looking for cleaners to clean buildings at night. Something you want to do? She goes, yeah, we can do it together. I said, exactly. So I called them up. Cut a long story short, we went to go work for a national company for about 6 months. Um, it was an education for us. Not gonna say who the national company was, but we learned what not to do. So we left there. I went back to work,
Okay.
and then my mom, who's the other co-founder of the company, says, "Hey, when you leave these offices, I'll do them for you," because she covered for us. She enjoyed it, and so she was doing it for 3 months. She had us over for dinner one night, and we're, hey, I said, "How's it going?" And so she goes, "Oh man, these guys don't give you enough time. They don't give you the right tools, the right equipment." I said, "Right." That was a challenge for us too. And we were just sitting there having dinner and said, "We ought to go into the clean industry. We can do it better than they did." And so that's what we did. And so at the beginning, I was already back to work. We thought, hey, let's just do this. We'll get some extra cash. We just got married, want to buy a house, want to get ahead in life a little bit.
All right.
And so we really didn't think we would go into the clean industry for a very long time. It was supposed to be just something small for, just maybe a year or two, just trying to get some extra cash.
Right.
And, we did a good job. That's why I say if you do a good job and build a good reputation, it grows, it just kind of kept growing. And so, yeah, that's how we got into it. So at 10 years, we had grown. At 10 years, we had 6 employees. We went to a retreat, the association I talked about earlier.
Yeah.
And I came out of there, I was so pumped up, so excited, met people that had been in the industry a lot longer, that a lot more success. And I was excited, but I had a really good job. And so family was involved at this point. My mom, like I said, her and I co-founded the company. Siblings were involved. And I said, hey, does somebody want to take care of this business? It's growing. No one really saw the big picture. And so I told my wife, I think I want to leave my job and do this full time. And she about fainted and fell over. She goes, are you crazy? And she says, can you pay yourself what you're getting paid now, plus your benefits? I go, nope. But you take a leap of faith anyways. But that's how we got it. And that's when we took off.
Wow.
Years, I started doing this full time, and that's how that's where we're at today. So
wow,
it's been fun.
It's a risk. Yeah. You got to take that leap of faith sometimes.
Yeah, exactly.
And just go for it. If you follow your dream, that's
yeah.
Wow. Okay. Last question.
Oh.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years? And any words of advice for other business owners who are looking to grow their business?
Advice let's start with the second part of the question. The advice I would give to other business owners, again, is just, hopefully you're doing something that you're passionate about, something that you love to do, because like we know, business is not easy. We don't know what the economy is going to do here in a few months. Ups and downs. Even with a good economy, COVID taught us that things can come to a halt really fast.
Oh, yeah.
So you got to do something that you do. You're passionate about, something you love to do. And then the other part of it is just give back, get involved in your community, make it a better place, whether it's, being personally involved on a board, just being visible, being present, get involved with a good cause that you love, and try to, volunteer or just try to be active in that. Those are good things, man. Making an impact in your community, making it a better place. And I have found through doing that you get to meet some amazing people in leadership in your community, and at the same time, even patients or people that are receiving these services from these causes in the community, whether it be cancer, United Way, Boys and Girls Club, all great causes, in any community. But when you get involved, man, it's so much fun, and I'm a biblical man, so Jesus said there was more happiness in giving than receiving, and so yeah, we build businesses to obviously make a living and make some money, but it also feels great to give back and make an impact in your community and others people's lives through your business. So, and in 5 years, what will I be? We've had this conversation, my wife and I, and so we're in year 32, and I told her by year 35 I'll figure out where we want to be. Man, I'm still having fun with it. I'm still enjoying it, but I got other family now involved. My daughter's involved. My son-in-law is a project manager, and my daughter's an assistant operations manager. And we're starting to have some conversations. Do you guys want to, kind of take over the family business in the future at some point? And I think that they're a little excited about that opportunity. So probably in the next 5 years, I'll figure out, if not, probably not transition out yet, but in the process of maybe transitioning or close to starting to transition. I don't see that would be that'd be year 37. I think the time will probably be about right about that time. So we'll see what happens. I mean, but again,
Yeah.
I'm still having fun with it. So as long as you're having fun with it, it's all good.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. Well, great insights. Thank you very much to Carlos Martinez,
Oh, thank you
co-founder
for
and
having
CEO.
us.
Excuse me.
I said thank you for having us. It's
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I didn't finish your title, but everybody knows who you are. So,
If
yeah,
you ever need
awesome.
any cleaning of any sort,
Yeah, commercial cleaning, Tri-Cities, you know who to call now, right?
and even in Spokane, we go to Spokane. So
Yeah, and Spokane as well. So anyway, thank you so much. Great insights, lots of great stuff. I got a whole page of notes here, so I was taking advantage of this. So awesome. And we'll see you around soon, hopefully. Take care.
thank you, Ted.
You're welcome. Bye.